The others gathered on a balcony overlooking Manhattan. "You guys hear that?" Connor said. "Hear what?" said Annabeth. "Exactly." Percy understood immediately. Even from the height of Olympus, they should have been able to hear the sounds of millions of people bustling and cars driving around, but they just didn't. You don't think about it much if you actually live in New York, but it's always there. It's the city that never sleeps. "What have they done to my city?" Percy said tightly. "Oh, gods!" Selena whimpered. "Are they dead?" Percy looked through the binoculars, and he saw that everyone and everything just stopped. All the cars stopped in the middle of the streets, some of them crashed, civilians laid flat on the sidewalks. Everywhere he looked, there wasn't one single mortal who wasn't lying down. It was as if everyone in the city just decided to stop what they were doing and pass out just like that. With a cold feeling in Percy's heart, part of the prophecy rang in his head. "And see the world in endless sleep." "No, they're not dead," Percy said. "It's part of the prophecy. They're all asleep." Percy remembered what Grover had said about seeing Morpheus scanning Central Park. Now that it all made sense. "Morpheus has put the whole city to sleep," Percy said, "which means the invasion has started." They all went back down to the streets. Chiron was nowhere to be seen, so hopefully he had already made it out of town before the sleep spell had spread. Hopefully in horse form. Percy asked Argus to go back to the camp and guard it as best he could. Before he did, he took out a reflective shield from the van and handed it to Annabeth. It showed an image of Lady Liberty like a magic mirror. "It's a video shield. One of Daedalus' ideas," said Annabeth. "Beckendorf helped make it before he... Well, anyway, it's designed to bend sunlight or moonlight to create a reflection. You can literally see any target under the sun or moon as long as natural light is touching it. This will let us see what's going on across the city," said Annabeth. "Thank you, Argus." Argus climbed into his van and left the demigods alone in the world's biggest war zone. Percy called for Mrs. O'Leary and told her to go find Grover. She licked him and ran off north. "I still don't get why we didn't fall asleep," Pollock said. "Why just the mortals?" "It's a huge spell," said Selena. "The bigger the spell, the easier it is to resist. If you want millions of mortals to sleep, you gotta cast a very thin layer of magic. Making an effect on demigods is much harder." "When did you learn so much about magic?" Percy asked her. She blushed. "I don't spend all my time on my wardrobe and fixing my makeup." Percy," Annabeth said, "you better look at this." Out to the side of Liberty Island, the shield showed a group of speedboats racing through the dark water and toward Manhattan, each one filled with armed demigods in Greek armor. The lead boat was carrying a purple banner with a symbol of a golden scythe. Percy had never seen a design like that before, but it wasn't too hard to figure out. It was the battle flag of Kronos. "Try to look for more parts of the island, quick," he told Annabeth. The scene changed and showed the entrance to the Lincoln Tunnel on the Jersey shore. A bunch of enemy demigods and monsters marched their way through the stopped traffic with a tank. "You think the whole state's asleep?" Percy asked Annabeth. "I don't think so," she said. "I think it's really just Manhattan. Just from looking at more of these images, there's a 50-mile radius all around it where time is running really slow. The closer you get to Manhattan, the slower it is." They saw another image of a highway where cars moved at like 1 mile per hour. "It's Kronos," Percy said. "He's slowing down time." "Hecate must be helping," Katie said. "Look at how some of the cars are slowly turning around, like they're getting a subconscious message to turn back." "I don't think we can expect any further help from outside the city," said Annabeth. Percy stared at his friends. They all looked stunned and scared. He couldn't blame them. There were less than 30 of them, and they just saw at least 300 enemies on the doorstep to Manhattan, and they couldn't expect any further help coming. All right, he said. We're going to hold Manhattan. Percy, Manhattan is huge, Selena said. We are going to hold it, he said. He's right, said Annabeth. The wind gods should keep Kronos' forces away from Olympus by air, so they'll try a ground assault. We have to try to cut off the entrances to the island. And just like that, Percy remembered and finally understood Athena's message about remembering the rivers. We have to guard the bridges and tunnels, he said. They'll probably try an assault on Midtown or downtown. That would probably be the most direct way to reach the Empire State. Michael, you take the Apollo cabin to the Williamsburg Bridge. Katie, you take the Demeter cabin to the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel. Growth thorn bushes and poison ivy in the tunnel and giant fly traps or whatever. Connor, you take half the Hermes cabin to cover the Manhattan Bridge. Travis, you take the other half to the Brooklyn Bridge. And no stopping for looting or pillaging. Pollux, you just pick a group to go with and help any way you can, okay? No problem. Selena, you take your cabin to the Queen's Midtown Tunnel. Oh my gosh! Fifth Avenue is so for us, said one of her sisters. The Aphrodite girls left him with some hugs and a lot of kisses on the cheeks. Okay, I think that's a little more than necessary, Percy said. Okay, Jake, you take your cabin to the Holland Tunnel. Use Greek fire and everything you've got. Gladly, he said. We got a score to settle, and a brother to avenge. For Beckendorf. Malcolm, you take the Athena cabin to the 59th Street Bridge, said Annabeth. Activate Plan 23 on the way. I'll go with Percy and join you there later, or wherever we're needed. Well, okay, Malcolm replied, but no detours, you two. There was some giggling in the back after he said that, but Percy let it pass. But how do we contact each other fast enough? Kayla Knowles asked. This war zone is huge, and we can't exactly make iris messages as fast as we need to, especially now at night. I know, Percy said, which is why we have no other choice. Look, we're going to expect a lot of monsters coming after us anyway, right? No doubt about it. We're gonna have to use cell phones. Percy, we don't have cell phones, Selena said. Percy walked over to a sleeping pedestrian, reached into his pocket, and held up his phone. Look, you all have Annabeth's number, right? Look, just pick one up from one of the civilians and leave it somewhere once you're done with it. Only use it if you really, really need it, and don't use the same one twice. This way, it'll make it harder for the monsters to zero in on you. They all smiled and seemed to like this idea. Question, one of the Stoll brothers said. If we by any chance find like a really nice phone, no, you may not keep it, Percy said. Had to try. Wait, Percy, said Jake. You forgot about the Lincoln Tunnel. He was right. Percy had forgotten about the group of monsters with the tank, but what to do? There was no other group of campers left to cover for it. I think we can take it from here, a familiar voice said. It was Thalia Grace, with her group of immortal huntresses of Artemis. Thalia! Annabeth cried. Hunters of Artemis reporting for duty, Thalia said. Hey, Jackson, she said. After this war is over, how about some cheeseburgers for you and me and Annabeth? It's on me. Sure, and thanks, Thalia, said Percy. Those monsters won't know what hit them, said Thalia. Hunters, let's move. Oh, thank the Olympians, said Annabeth. But if we don't blockade the rivers from those boats we saw, guarding those bridges and tunnels will be pointless. You're right, Percy said. But I think I know what to do. He looked at the campers. He tried not to feel like this would be the last time he'd see them all together. You guys are the greatest heroes of this millennia, he told them. It doesn't matter how many monsters come at you. Fight bravely, and we will win. For Olympus! For Olympus! The campers echoed. Percy and Annabeth thought they could get across town faster by borrowing a car. The only problem with that was that the ignition wasn't working in every single one they tried. If Orpheus could make people sleep, Percy wondered if the god could make engines sleep too. Also, it was hard to choose a street to drive through since most of the roads were packed with stopped cars. Finally, they found a good scooter that Annabeth was able to hotwire, and they zoomed down the clearest path they could take to Madison Square Park. Percy followed Annabeth up to the William H. Seward statue. She explained that the statue and all the other statues in the city were all secretly automatons. They were all installed by Daedalus himself in case he ever needed an army. "This is Plan 23, Percy," she said. She climbed up the pedestal, pressed her hand on the statue, and said a command. "Command sequence Daedalus 23, she said. "Defend Manhattan. Begin activation." The statue jumped off its pedestal and walked toward the east. "He should be going to wake up all the other statues now," said Annabeth. "Good," said Percy. "Then it's about time I fixed that river problem." They took the scooter to Battery Park, where the Hudson River and East River came together and emptied into the bay. Percy told Annabeth to stay by the scooter. Annabeth didn't like it, but she couldn't breathe underwater. "Please, just be careful, Percy," she said. "I don't want anything to happen to you. I mean, because we need you for the battle, of course." "Hey, come on, you know me. The sea's my territory. I'll be fine," he said. "I'll be right back, I promise." He grinned and said, "Back in a splash," and he dived into the disgusting river.